What is going on, beautiful people of the world? Happy 12 days of gratitude. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this is my favorite time of the year. The Thrive Forever Fit podcast turns into the 12 days of gratitude series, this time every single year. So from the 13th of December all the way through December the 24th, Christmas Eve, I will be launching a brand new episode with a special guest talking about the powers and awesomeness of gratitude. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you listen to all 12 episodes. I promise you, they will be amazing. They will be awesome. And I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas, an abundant holiday season. Whatever you're into, be into it. I'm into it with you. Love you. Enjoy the series. Here we go. Lorraine, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great, Jay. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm so excited to have you on. First and foremost, love your accent. We could just talk about anything and I wouldn't even care because I've always been enamored with like accents of any kind. And here's the sad part of this. By the end of this, I might possibly start to develop a Northern Ireland accent, and people are going to be like, what is this stooge doing? I almost can't help it. Like it's ingrained in me to like want to have a, like, you know, I'm from the South, so I've got a little bit of like a Southern twang, but I've always wanted like a British or a Australian or some, even the GPS on my, so when I put my car on, it's either a British or an Australian accent. That's how into accents I am.
I think it would work for you. I can really see Irish Jay. I can.
I totally think you're right. And I'm grateful that you said that because it just validates me and lets me know that I'm not just a complete idiot. So thank you for that. For those of you that for those of you guys that don't know, Lorraine is one of my clients. She's from Northern Ireland, lives in Northern Ireland. And so it's 9 o'clock in the morning in California. Is it 6 or 5 there?
It's 5 p.m. here.
Okay, 5 p.m. in Northern Ireland. So, you know, awesomeness that be able to talk to people from all over the world. This is so amazingly cool. And I had you on because I'm grateful for you, because I think your commitment and your consistency just to be your best are really, really inspiring to me. So first and foremost, the question I've been asking everybody, and you know me, like I like to make up my own words and definitions and say crazy shit. So if I ask you, like, what's your definition of gratitude, or just what does it mean to you, or how does it feel, or how would you just describe it to me?
I suppose for me, like true gratitude, I think it's finding the bonus value in things.
I love that.
And yeah, I was talking to people about this today, you know, as I was sort of prepping for this.
Yeah.
And they were like, what do you mean by bonus values? And I'm like, well, it's the little things. Like we all get the big things, you know, big things that we're grateful for.
Yeah.
But that doesn't last. That doesn't give you endless happiness. And for me, it's in the depths of despair. It's finding the gratitude for the little small things. Yeah. That's what keeps us going. You know, that's the thing that has the power to bring us hope.
Yeah.
For better days.
It's such a great description, and I've never heard it described as that. But I don't think I'm not going to steal that. You know, I will.
Oh no, you can absolutely.
But I will give you credit for it. I think it's amazing. That's such a great, because you're right. Like it's easy to say like, oh, I'm thankful for someone I love, or I'm thankful for water, or I'm thankful for my job or money or whatever. But it's like, it's the bonus value of the little things that's when you tap into those, that's when it really becomes kind of robust.
Yeah. And it's finding those little things to cherish.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, you know, we've gone through really hard times, you know, there's no getting away from that. Nope. But you need something to hang on to and cherish, and find the little tiny things that will take you out of that despair.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of what it means to me, you know, that you'll always have the big things, the new house, the new car.
Yeah.
But you're only grateful for those for a day, 2 days. It's finding the value in the bonus things of just everyday life.
Yeah, we kind of start taking those big things for granted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're right, because you get a new car and you're like, oh, this is awesome. And then like a week later, you're just like, you're driving it like a psychopath, right? The first week you park at the very end of the parking lot, like, 2 miles away. And then, 2 weeks later, you're jamming it in between two cars, and who gives a shit if it gets dinged or whatever. You're right. You're so right. Like, I didn't think about it like that, but that's such a great way to look at it. Have you always felt that way? Have you always been like, kind of been able to dig deep into the smaller things?
No, I would say that is a very new thing, probably only in the last 12 months.
Okay, cool.
And we, I think 18 months ago, the world went to shit.
Yeah.
And it was, a few months after that, I was like, okay, I need to do something and figure out my life.
Yeah.
There is no joy in it. There's no gratitude in it. There's no value in it. And we live in a messed up world where everything, you look for the worst in everything, summer's too hot, winter's too cold, I have the worst job.
Yeah.
But, there's so much in all of those things to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And we forget about that.
Yeah. We're kind of programmed. You're right. We're kind of programmed to seek out the negative and be like, you're so right. That's I was talking to Jill in Saskatchewan, Canada yesterday, and she said some kind of crazy number. She's like, oh, it's negative something. And I was like, what? She's like, it's like 9 degrees, like, a Fahrenheit American temperature. And I'm like, and she's like, we're going to go for a walk later and whatever. I'm like, are you a psychopath? I'm like, what is wrong with you? And then but it's all perspective, right? It's like, she's like, you know what? It's like, she's like, the sun's shining. It's a gorgeous day. It just happens to be really, really cold. And so that's such a beauty. Like, she was able to find the gratitude in the fact that the sun was shining on a day that was below zero. And it's like, for me, like, I live in Palm Desert, which some days it's like 120. And I'm kind of programmed where it's like, I'm like, good. I love it when it's hot. That means, I'm going to go work out extra when it's that, just because I can prove I can. So it's all perspective. That's a great thing. Yeah. How has that changed since you've kind of flipped your brain? Like, how have you started your outlook on life? Has it gotten better?
Absolutely. I was sitting thinking about this, and I was like, what am I grateful for now? And, for me, it's connections. Mm-hmm. People need connections. It's connections that get us through the shit, for want of a better word. It's those connections that lift us up when we're down. And even the tiniest little thing, a smile, hey, how are you, whatever, those are the things to be grateful for, because those connections just mean everything, and they will get us through adversity and bring abundance to our lives.
Yeah. I think you're so right. The other day we were in so Lori and I go for a walk every Friday, and then we always go and we kind of go grocery shopping together, and I'll always get a Starbucks after our walk. And my goal when I'm there is to find somebody that I can buy a coffee for. Like, if there, if there's a long line. Oh, that's great. And there's this one particular lady, I mean, gosh, she's probably in her 80s. She's always in such a great mood. And I always try to, I'm hoping she's there, because I like to buy her a coffee because she gets so excited. But I went in the other day, and it was just me, and there was one lady in front of me. And, it's a weird time. It's like, she had her mask on, and she was like, I could tell she was probably a little bit, like stranger averse. And I'm like, so I went through my mind. I'm like, okay, like, I want to buy her a coffee, but I don't want to freak her out. Like, I don't, it's like, me popping around the corner and be like, hey, how you doing? So finally, I talked myself into it, and I was like, you know what? Just be who you are, right? Don't worry about how she's going to respond. And so I kind of like, she was ordering her coffee, and I kind of leaned around, and I was like, hey, can I buy your coffee today? And she was like, what? And I was like, I just want to pay for your coffee. And she's like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like it's the right thing to do. And she's like, oh my gosh. Okay. And so, then she walked over and was waiting for her coffee. And like, even though she had a mask on, I could literally see the smile on her face. And she
you can see your cheeks going up.
She probably thanked me like 10 times. And it was a very easy thing for me to do. And I'm just so glad that I did it after that, because like you said, it's those little connections in communication. Is like, literally, I felt like I made her day just because of how excited she got. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, I bet she's going to go do something very, very similar, like the next place she goes or the next time. And so it's so important for us to, like, little things like that. It's like, it kind of goes back to exactly what you said. It's the bonus value that made me feel better than.
And, you touch that person
Yeah.
You didn't physically touch them, but
Right.
you really touched that person.
Yeah.
And, she has walked away from that with gratitude
Yeah.
and is going to spread that to the world.
And it made me grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made me more grateful. Like it's weird how your brain works. Like I did something for somebody else, but I got value out of it. It was like, I feel awesome today. Like I'm walking around like, but I'm so happy. I'm like, I'm buying people coffee, right? So it's like, your brain is so crazy. It's like whenever you do things for other people, that's kind of part of who we are in our Thrive Forever Fit program. It's like, we're always talking about encouraging people. And like you said, sometimes it's a smile, it could be holding the door, it could be a thank you, it could be anything. And so I love the fact that you brought that up and you've kind of tapped into that. Have you noticed people are, I think when we start to be more grateful and we kind of like, it becomes part of who we are. Have you noticed other people around you kind of just starting to adopt the same kind of like
absolutely
processes? Give me an example of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like at work, we work in a very stressful environment. It's a very high-end dental practice. People are nervous, they're in pain. And, it's amazing just, 2 seconds holding the door open. Hey, how are you today? A pat on the arm.
Yeah.
Can I help you with that? It's just the tiny little things. And you just see people walk off smiling and, the stress levels come down, and it has a ripple effect, a massive ripple effect.
Yeah.
It really is amazing to watch.
It's so powerful. I think sometimes, I've talked about this with a few of the people that are going to be on the 12 days of gratitude. And it's like, when we first start thinking about gratitude, it's almost very like surface level. It's like, oh, well, I'm thankful that I have water. I'm thankful I have a shower. It's kind of the things you touched on. But the more you understand like the power of it, you kind of start to like, you go really, really deep. And it's like, it's not the holding of the door, right? Like that's the act or the physical mechanics of it. But there's like an energy exchange of like just appreciation and love and like all that stuff. And that's where the real power comes. And I think Jill even said this yesterday that, once she started, working with me and she's like, okay, I need to start attaching an emotion to that, right? Because, if you hold the door open and you have a giant smile, you're not only just holding that door open mechanically, like you're giving off this like energy of like, hey, you know what? We're in this thing together. I may not know your name or anything, but I'm here for you and with you. And it's like, it almost just like transcends each other. And like I said, I always feel better about myself.
Yeah. And that, that's what, love is. It's energy. We're trying to put energy into other people, and people are struggling. We have never seen rates of depression so high, mental illness so high, and people are low. Their gas tanks are on empty. And if that's all we can do is give someone a little bit of love, a little bit of energy, and refuel them. It takes seconds to do it, but it's amazing. It's the best feeling in the world.
100% agree. And then I think you mentioned, you hit the nail on the head. It's that ripple effect. And, a lot of times I think we think that it just goes out, but that ripple, it's like a boomerang. It kind of comes back to you. And then like your life becomes more, it just becomes more joyful and more abundant because it's like you realize that you're a bigger piece of the puzzle. And I think, you've said this a couple of times, like we're in this place of kind of like overwhelm and chaos. And I think when you get there, sometimes you think you're alone. It's kind of like, it's very like isolatory, but you're really not. Like we're all in the same thing together. And when you isolate, you're kind of just stuck with your own energy. And then, but when you start communicating and connecting, then you get to be like, oh, wait a minute, like maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was. Maybe because like we're kind of all like vibrating together, and then collectively we've got the opportunity to like to make a difference and be happier. Because it's probably like, I know you, like when you go into the office and let's say that you interact with the first 3 people that you work with, if you go in and you're all like, pissed off and like bitchy and whatever, it's like that energy is going to be there the rest of the day. But if you go in and you're like, hey guys, like what's going on? Like, hey, guess what? I brought everybody coffee today, or I brought everybody this or that. And it's like, oh shit, like, hey man, we may have a fun day today, right?
Exactly.
Just energy. It's so amazing.
It is. And as you say, it's the ripple effect and the boomerang, it comes back to you. And I know I didn't practice gratitude, but since I have, and that was just me trying to, get it out there to the world. And then it started coming back to me, and I'm like, do you know what? The growth and development that I have underwent in the last 12 months has just been amazing. Like 12 months ago, I was not in a happy place. I had no purpose in life. I I had no goals in life. I didn't know what my mission in life was. And now I'm like, holy shit, you know, there's a big old plan going on here.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, and it wasn't, and I think I want to like unpack that a little bit, because it's not like you didn't really do anything radical, right? You didn't move to another country. You didn't learn a new language. You didn't get a new job. You know what I mean? Like you didn't like, I'm quitting my job and living in a van. Like you don't have to. I think sometimes people think in order for things to change, that it's got to be like this radical shift. You know what I mean? It's almost like a diet. When somebody starts that dreaded D word, they go into their kitchen, they go in their kitchen, they get a trash bag and they throw away
everything goes in
all the food. And then they're like, well, holy shit. Well, now what do I do? And then they eat a salad for 3 days and they're like, if I see another salad, like I'm gonna kill somebody. Right. And so, and then you go right back to doing the things that you were doing. But if you just make those tiny little shifts, and for you, it was like, okay, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to pause and be like, my life's pretty good. Like, I'm going to be grateful for some things. I'm going to start communicating with new people. You became a part of the program. We started talking, and it's like, you're like, my life's pretty freaking awesome. Like I'm about to, and so I want people to hear you say that, because it is that transition from like, no matter how stuck you think you are, you're really just a few small decisions away from seeing things differently. Yeah. And I'm super proud of you for doing that too. I want you to hear that. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, is because I'm grateful that, there's been some challenging times for you, but you've never given up. Right. No, and there's a power in that.
And, I think that's the community, the group that we have, the amazing group we have. Our tribe's amazing. And I might stray away for a day or two, but I'm not dropping out. I'm not leaving.
Well, and look where you live. Like you live in Northern Ireland. Like most of us are, in the United States, and it's like the time change is crazy, and it's this. And I even said to you the other day, I'm like, time is irrelevant. It's just a thing, right? It doesn't matter if it's 9:17 here and 5:17 there. Like our energy doesn't change, and our connection and our love and our communication doesn't matter. And so I think, once you separate and get rid of all like the nonsense and the minutia, it's like, hey, like it really is just an energy connection and like, moving in the direction. And that's kind of why I wanted to have you on, is because I've watched your growth, and I've seen you change and develop, and like not even really change. Like you've always been this person. You just started believing it yourself.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like, And so I think a lot of times you have to be grateful for, got to be grateful for the struggle a little bit, because then you can look back and say, oh man, like,
and it's like, I had a struggle a few weeks ago, and I'm looking back like, why? Yeah. What was that all about?
It's just part of the process, Yeah. You know what? Let me ask you a question on that. Like, even when you were in that little bit of a struggle, a couple of weeks ago, you didn't lose all the things that you had. Like you didn't lose your understanding of gratitude. You didn't lose your, like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And so it's not like that all went away. You just started like acting upon it again. And that's kind of what got you back in the groove. So tell me about that. Like when you were like in that little bit of a boxing match with yourself, like how did you pull yourself through that?
Yeah. So I think I probably looked at gratitude a wee bit differently every day. So it was, okay, I wasn't happy in my job. And, then it was like, well, do you know what? You still have a job. Yeah. It might not be the best place at the moment, but you still have a job. You still have a place to go, a place that you're valued and respected. If you don't want to stay in this job, you can go out and get another job. I'm not boxed in. Right. And it was, a lot of it was self-talk to myself as well, and it was like, hey, you've done nothing wrong here. Why are you letting this get to you? This is crazy talk, crazy talk. You're a good person. Just keep remembering that and keep going.
Yeah, that's why when I reached out to you, I'm like, hey, what's going on? You were like, you sent me this note, and I'm like, it's okay. Who cares? It doesn't always have to be like this crazy thing. I was just like, who cares? Like, let's just start doing what we know we're supposed to be doing. You're like,
let's just get back to where we were.
Yeah, well, shit. Well, that seems super simple. Kind of funny, right? Like, but I think a lot of times, like, and this is part of like, you being able to tap back into that gratitude and go back to exactly what you said. It's like the bonus value. Yeah, like a lot of times, no matter what you do in the world, like I guarantee, I don't know if in America, like, football's king and Tom Brady's probably the best player on the planet. I bet some days he wakes up and he's like, this sucks.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I don't want to be I don't want to be the best quarterback in the NFL today.
Yeah, I
You know
want
what
a
I
day
mean?
off.
Yeah,
I
I
want to
want a
lie
day
in
off.
bed, yeah, and be
Yeah.
miserable.
And so nobody's immune, but it's just like, when you kind of tap back into those little things of like, it's, hey, my job today is not exactly how I love it, but guess what? I still have a job which pays my bills, keeps the lights on, which does
Yeah.
this and does that. And,
It's the connections. It comes back to the connections. It's connections that give us the resilience
yeah,
and give us the strength to bounce back. Because if we
yeah,
didn't have these connections, if you hadn't reached out and I didn't have the tribe and
yeah,
everyone else, I'm not sure I could have bounced back.
yeah. But we don't do anything alone. I think
Yeah.
that's another valuable thing that everybody needs to understand is like the idea that you're going to be the Lone Ranger. You know what I mean? Just like,
Yeah.
I'm going to take the world on by myself. Like, is completely lunacy, right? Like no successful person, no human is designed to do any of this on our own. We're just not, you know what I mean? And so I think there's the value and the gratefulness of having other humans that are kind of, hey, like I know these people know exactly what I'm going through.
Mhm.
And there's no judgment, there's no anything. And I can just say, hey, like last week sucked. And everybody's like, hey, like, listen, for me too, it was 2 weeks ago. So, and we just all kind of like continue to build each other back up and say, listen, who cares? Like, let's get back into the game and, just start doing the little things and connecting like we know that we're supposed to. How do you see gratitude now, like as kind of like one of your pillars of success? Like, because I think a lot of times, like it's like we talked about earlier, it can be very superficial or like scuba diving. I mean, like snorkeling, but then you can get down to those deep layers of like scuba diving, which is like, hey, like I'm going to really use this to make my life better.
Yeah, like gratitude, it's always there. And we will always have it to fall back on. It's sitting down for 5 minutes in the morning and saying, do you know what? This is what's really good about my life. And it's those little tiny little things that we cherish. We have to cherish to give us the hope to keep going and to give us that life of abundance. When you can sit and look at your life and say, I have a million tiny little things that I'm I have gratitude for.
Yeah.
That's a life of abundance. That is so many people don't have that, but we have that because we've learned to do that. And we have a million tiny little things, but the best life ever. And we're not waiting for the big thing like the new car or the new house to be grateful for, because it's time limited. You only have those for days, minutes, weeks.
Yeah.
But if you have the pillar and the foundation of gratitude for just the tiny little things, you have a life of abundance.
Yeah. And it kind of becomes, and I'll ask you this, I'll say for me, it's like, it's almost, you said it's always there. And when you said that, for me, it's like, it is always there because it's a part of like it's a part of my consciousness, for lack of a better term. It's like, I always think in terms of that, like first and foremost, before I go to like a negative or a whatever. And if I do go to a negative or whatever, I'm really able to tap right back into my gratitude and reframe it in a position just like you did and said like, hey, wait a minute, like, yeah, this may not be the perfect scenario like in the moment, but if I look at it from a bigger perspective, like I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm pretty lucky. And I think, have you noticed since you've kind of like, over the last, we'll say year, how like it's just gotten easier for you? Like you don't even really have to think about it anymore.
No, it's just completely like straight away, it's gone down. And you're like, no, hang on a wee second. There's a lot more going on here, and it's how many people were involved to get you here, how many tiny little things happened to create this situation, and they're all things to be grateful for.
I agree 100%.
It's just breaking it down into the little bits.
And kind of making it part, at first you kind of have to practice a little bit. It's like anything. It's almost like learning a new skill. You're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to write down 3 things I'm grateful for. And the first day, they may be like pretty simple. They may be like, oh, hot water, I brush my teeth today. Like, you know what I mean?
Made my bed.
Yeah, I got a car, you know what I mean? But then as I think you'll find, and I can't remember who said this, one of the other interviews, and they were like, that's kind of how it started for me. And then I started like noticing that like my gratitudes turned into more than like words. It would be like a paragraph about like my depth of appreciation for a certain person, place, thing, or activity. And I'm like, and that's when you kind of know that it's like, it's gotten bigger than just the words. Like it's not superficial anymore. It's actually like coming out of your soul and your heart. And I think that's the place and space that we all want to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that does, that level of gratitude can only come from the heart.
Yeah, I totally agree. Buddy, I am so thankful that you said yes to do this. I think it's, you know, it's always the perspective to hear other people's positioning, and what you said about bonus value is magic. I love that. And we're going to teach that to the entire tribe, because I think that's a really great and unique way to look at it, because it is bonus value, right? And it actually, in the bonus, think about anything. Like if I said to you, hey, you get a bonus at work, like you're like, oh shit, like awesome, right? Or hey, we got a bonus offer for you, or an upgrade, or whatever it is. Like everybody gets excited. So if you kind of looked at gratitude as that same way, it's like it's the bonus. Like I don't know a human being on the planet, if you said, hey, you get a bonus, whatever it is, they wouldn't be like, oh shit, like this pretty cool, like whatever, you know, it is.
Your mind starts thinking, I got a bonus. What am I going to do with this? Where's this going?
So that's such a gorgeous way to look at that. And I'm thankful that I'm grateful that you gave me a brand new perspective. I'm being serious, a brand new perspective and way to look at it, and teach it and talk about it and all those things, because that, you know, that resonated with me so much when you said it. I was like, oh wow, that might be, and for all of you other guys listening that were on, I apologize. That might be my favorite definition of everybody that I've interviewed. And there's only one interview left. And so there's only one other person that could possibly trump you on that. So as it stands today, you win for my favorite.
I got the bonus.
You did. And that's because, and listen, I hope that people understand, and I'm not just like, I'm not acting excited about this. Like I love to learn. And I love, like, the reason I do my podcast and talk to other humans is because I don't know shit. And so when I get the opportunity to like interact with another human from across the country in a completely different time zone, completely different world than I live in on a daily basis, I learn something. And that's the most amazing thing for me. So this is really a selfish project for me. If everybody just needs to understand that, you know, I am selfish because I love awesome humans, and I love to, like you said, connect and interact with them. And so I just want to say again, thank you for saying yes to this.
Oh, you're very welcome.
You're an amazing human, and I'm uber grateful for you.
Oh, I'm so grateful for you guys too. You know, this last 12 months have been life-changing for me. And, you know, it wouldn't have been possible without you and the tribe.
Thank you for saying that. And we love you, I mean, immensely. And I know someday either we're all coming to Northern Ireland, or you're going to make your way to the States. And this won't be a video to video connection. I can't wait to give you an actual physical hug and meet you in person.
Brilliant. Can't wait.
All right, bud. Love you. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, thanks, Jay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.